Welcome to In the Zone with Anthony. A week removed from the holiday that was Thanksgiving. Just in case you're wondering, maybe you've heard my other podcasts. I've started a new job working third shift, so I'm trying to get my hours straightened out. Nonetheless, when I come in the zone, I always bring some good, hard-hitting content. It's what you're used to. And we're just going to jump right in the zone because a lot has been going on, especially if you follow college women's basketball. And there's two teams that you're going to definitely pay particular attention to because of the individuals that garner the spotlight. You're either going to pay attention to the Iowa Hawkeyes, Caitlin Clark, or you're going to pay attention to the LSU Tigers. It's strange that we're getting ramped up for the college football playoff. Teams are trying to win their conference titles to lock their spot in the Final Four, and we're talking women's college basketball because of some things that are going on, not just on the court, but off the court in regards to LSU. Those are the two teams you really care about. Of course, there's always the iconic UConn and Coach Gino Auriemma. You wonder how long he's going to be coaching. You got Tennessee. Even Colorado's playing. Yes, that's right, Colorado. Ranked in the top 20. The team that beat LSU. It caused a lot of stir. Well, Angel Reece is set to return. But there are still some burning questions that remain for LSU. Wearing their purple warm-ups on Black Friday, Flau'jae Johnson, Anissa Morrow, and the LSU women's basketball team goes through their pregame routine on the court at John Gray High School. It's minutes before their first game of the Cayman Islands Classic. And after a day of feasting and frolicking with Stingrays, they're ready to get back to the business of basketball. A fire alarm sounds in the gym, but it alarms no one. Pardon the players. It's been a season full of ear-splitting noise for the defending NCAA champions. Favorite to repeat, LSU suffered an opening game loss to Colorado. 4 games in, superstar Angel Reece was benched. The next game, Coach Kim Mulkey poo-pooed COVID testing as she sniffled through a news conference. Not even an island escape, it seemed, could shut the noise. But on a Wednesday in Baton Rouge, one fire was seemingly put out when Mulkey announced that Reece was back. That's right, Reece was back. After missing 4 games, Reece will suit up for number 7 LSU on Thursday night for the first time since November 14, when the Tigers host number 9 Virginia Tech, 9 p.m. Eastern, in a rematch of last year's national semifinal. But what happens next? Sure, Reece is returning, but the Tigers are a team that looks much different than the one she left. Junior guard Kateri Poole also sat out the Cayman Island trip and has not rejoined the team. Sophomore forward Samaya Smith is out for the rest of the season after tearing an ACL, MCL, and meniscus in the Cayman Islands turn opener. Transfer Haley Van Leith and Morrow have emerged as leaders. How the Tigers pick up the pieces from the past 3+ weeks could determine their championship hopes. The bumps in the road this season began almost immediately for LSU, ranked number 1 in the preseason. The Tigers dropped their first game 92-78 to then number 20 Colorado on November the 6th. After the game, neither of the familiar faces of Reece and Johnson, nor the high-profile transfers of Morrow and Van Lith joined Mulkey at the news conference. Instead, freshman Michaela Williams, who scored a team-high 17 points, represented the players. I'm disappointed and surprised in some of our individual players that I thought would just be tougher and have a little fight and leadership about them, Mookie said after the loss. I thought Williams and Samaya Smith did all they could. We needed more than those two to have a little bit of a fight. She added, this is not going to devastate us. It's hard to argue that point. LSU has won 7 straight since. 4 of those wins came without Reece. None of those wins, however, have come against ranked opponents. And though the wins have continued, the noise has been loud and the lights bright. The Reece saga can be traced back to halftime of LSU's 4th game of the season on November 14 against Kent State. Leading the Golden Flashes by 2 at halftime, the most outstanding player of the 2023 NCAA tournament did not play a minute in the second half. LSU went on to win 109-79. Mookie said Reece's absence was a coach's decision. Reece has not returned to the court or even the bench since. Mookie steadfastly refused to elaborate on what led to Reece's absence, the nature of that absence, or when she would return. Angel was not in uniform, Mookie said after Reece missed her first full game on November 17th, a 73-50 win against Southeast Louisiana. Angel is a part of this basketball team, and we hope to see her sooner than later. After beating Texas Southern 106-47 at home on November 20 in Reece's second consecutive missed game, Mookie said, you always have to deal with locker room issues. Sometimes you don't know about it. Sometimes you want to know more than you're entitled to know. I'm going to protect my players. Always. They are more important. You will know when she comes back, Mookie said on November 24th following LSU's first game in the Cayman Islands. Obviously, she's not with us. Reece may not have been with the Tigers in the Cayman Islands, but her absence opened the door for someone else. Anissa Morrow catches an entry pass on the edge of the paint in the opening moments of the 4th quarter in LSU's game against Virginia in the Cayman Islands. Smith had been injured in the previous game and was on the bench wearing a brace that extended down her right leg, leaving Morrow to anchor the front court. She may be listed as a guard, but the 6'1" junior is at home in the lane. With the ball in her hands, Morrow spins toward the middle. She explodes upward and finishes at the rim, through body contact for an and one. In this back and forth game, whenever LSU has needed a bucket, Morrow has been the one to get it. She finishes the game with 37 points and 16 rebounds while shooting 15 for 25 from the floor. LSU escapes the 76-73 victory. Van Lith adds 12 points and 5 assists. She and Haley bring experience to our team right now, Mookie said after the game. Having played at the college level is helping us right now. What they don't know about the system, they know about the toughness of the game at this level. Morrow was named to the all-tournament team after dominating LSU's 2 games, totaling 65 points and 26 rebounds. She started the season coming off the bench. When asked whether she expected to be in the position of carrying LSU, Morrow said, no. At DePaul, I was consistent, so that's the same thing I'm trying to do here. Coming out of the locker room following the win over Virginia, Mookie exuded pride in what LSU had accomplished that afternoon. We've got some comparatives out there, she said. You got some kids that don't listen to outside noise. You got some kids that just want to win. They came to LSU to do what they did here, and they did it under unforeseen circumstances. That just makes me feel so good about them. The good cheer remained the next day. In a purple LSU top jeans, Mookie relaxed in a seat at the gate in the Grand Cayman Airport. A woman known for her theatrical outfits and wild sideline gestures and expressions was decidedly understated as she waited to board the team's charter flight back to Baton Rouge. She leaned back and let out a big yawn before standing up and saying hello to Van Lit's family. On her way over to greet them, she squeezed UConn assistant coach Chris Daly's shoulder. UConn's Chartergate was right next to LSU's. She was smiling and happy, still chatting about the gutsy win over Virginia from the day before. The question was whether the sunshine and good vibes would travel back to Baton Rouge once the Tigers left the Grand Cayman bubble. And when exactly would Reece be back? So, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. There's more to this story. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a break. And when I come back, we're going to find out what it was that caused Kim Mulkey to nearly burst. Stay tuned to In the Zone. Yours truly, Anthony Smith. Welcome back to In the Zone with Anthony, as we are getting you caught up to date on quite a bit that has happened on the national scene, even right here locally in the state of Kansas, where I'm from, here in Wichita, Kansas. Hope you are enjoying being in the zone whenever I do pop in. Yes, let me just address the elephant in the room. Yes, I do have multiple podcasts. Some of you probably know my other one as well, too. And here lately, that one's probably been a little bit more localized, probably regional as far as statewide, pretty much state of Kansas. When I do what I call the high school football blitz on that one, now I'm breaking out the full court press. But you may also get a little bit of localized sports information right here on In the Zone. But In the Zone is probably going to be more national, so in case you weren't, okay, this guy got two different platforms. Well, you can never have enough platforms. I mean, some of your known personalities got multiple podcast platforms. So even though I'm not on that level, I hope that the content I bring will give you enough to be like, hey, you know what? I want to tune into him a little bit more. He has some pretty good content and he keeps us entertained, and there's never a dull moment. I hope you can say there's never a dull moment, you know. Anything that will make you, do something like this right here. That elicits a little bit of laughter. Anyway, in that first segment, we're going to conclude. We're talking about Kim Mulkey and the Angel Reece situation. Because, like I said, if you're tuned into college women's basketball, you're intrigued by what's happening at LSU and what's happening at Iowa. Like a few weeks ago when Iowa got beat, it was like, ooh, how the mighty have fallen. No, the mighty haven't fallen. It's just that the mighty have gotten beaten. Y'all have taken notice of it. When LSU got beat by Colorado, who was then ranked number 20, y'all took notice. And y'all also took notice of the back and forth between basketball moms. I mean, if you stop to think about it, what's that show, Basketball Housewives, or, those reality shows, Housewives, whatever it is. Now we can say we got college basketball moms. That ought to be the next movie that come out, or the next TV series that come out. Basketball moms. I mean, yeah. That situation got a little bit murky. It went to X. I'm not going to say all the other stuff. Y'all know what X used to be. I'm just going to call it X. I'm not saying all them other words. That's not necessary. But back to this story. Mulkey nearly burst through the door to her news conference on Wednesday afternoon in Baton Rouge. She's teeming with energy. I've got an opening statement, she says, taking her seat. Angel's back. Kateri's not. And Samaya's done for the year. Mulkey still did not elaborate on why Reece hasn't been with the team or why Poole still is not. But she shared more about why she's not commented on details of whatever has caused their absence. The sacredness of that locker room. We don't let parents in that locker room. We don't let people in that locker room, she said. There is a sacredness to a locker room, and I'm from that school. What's in that locker room stays in that locker room. Now that's as old school can get. I remember growing up as a child, my parents used to always tell me, what goes on in this household stays in this household. Don't you go out there telling family business. Today's media might not like it, but hey, that's that woman's locker room. I was looking at some people on YouTube, and they bashed Kim Mulkey, saying that she talking about this is family. That is not no family. I mean, these women were going off. My thing is this. There's thousands of other coaches that's willing to let you have information that you want. So don't get so butthurt over the fact that you have one that's old school and not going to leak any information to you. Even the players didn't leak any information. Yeah, now the basketball moms, yeah, maybe they might have went a little bit overboard. But you haven't heard anything about that since either, have you? No, you haven't. I tend to like the way Kim Mulkey runs her program. You're not going to be entitled to everything that goes on in the locker room. That's the players only, coaches only safe haven. If she does not want locker room dealings to get out to the public, that's her prerogative. She even went as far as use this reference. She told one of the reporters, she said that, now, when you discipline your child, you don't let the public in on the fact that you had to discipline your child. That's kept in your household. Well, whatever happened in their locker room, we may never know it. But if they handled it and if they gotten past it, so be it. More power to them. Anyway, she said, one fire will be put out when Reece returns to the court on Thursday night. Mulkey, however, is not convinced that there was even a blaze to begin with. She says, I'm waiting for y'all to get past it, Mulkey said. We're past it. We were past it after it happened. On Thursday night, Angel Reece has a chance to prove it's true. The good thing is they're playing at home. So I'm pretty sure when that number 24, no, that's not her number. Whenever her number is called, and that name, Angel Reece, I'm pretty sure this is what she's going to hear on her home court. Anyway, we have some more, and I'm going to stick with the women's side for the moment. Because I know everybody is all about the ACC SEC challenge. But this is the women's ACC SEC challenge. The inaugural challenge. So the SEC has 5 ranked teams led by number 1 South Carolina in this week's AP Women's Basketball Poll. The ACC has 6 led by number 5 NC State. So how will the conferences fare in a showdown? What we will find out at the inaugural ACC SEC Challenge in 14 games played over Wednesday, 5 games, and Thursday, 9. SEC teams won 3 of the past 6 national championships, while the ACC captured 1. The last time the women's Final Four didn't have at least one team from either the ACC or SEC was in 2023, although those national semifinals included Notre Dame, Louisville, which would soon join the ACC. Bottom line, several teams we'll see in the ACC SEC Challenge are likely to be major players come March. Others are trying to establish themselves as having that potential. So what can we learn from these games? Well, there are 5 things we're watching in the ACC SEC Challenge. Which players will be on the floor for LSU, and how do they gel? The Final Four rematch of defending national champion LSU, currently ranked number 7 and number 9 Virginia Tech, on Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, was a huge game to watch even before the Tigers' personnel issues. We know now, after Kim Mulkey's news conference Wednesday, that forward Andrew Reece will be available for LSU, but guard Terry Pope is not back with the team. Reece and Poole didn't travel with the Tigers for their game in the Cayman Islands Classic. Mulkey also says sophomore forward Samaya Smith, who suffered a right knee injury Friday in the Cayman Islands Classic, will miss the rest of the season. That's the blow to LSU, as Smith was averaging 11.7 points, 7.6 rebounds. Reece was benched in the second half of the Tigers' win over Kent State on November 14, then subsequently missed 4 games. LSU won all of them and is 7-1. LSU needed a huge game from Anissa Morrow to squeak past Virginia on Saturday. There is a lot of anticipation now about how much Reece will play against the Hokies in a game where Mulkey is going for his 700th career win as head coach. Who else will contribute for Virginia Tech? The Hokies are coming off 2 close victories in the Cayman Islands, including a 1-point win over Kansas. We know what they have in the elite center guard combo of Elizabeth Kitley and Georgia Amore, who combined to average 41.3 points, more than half the team's scoring. But how good can the Hokies supporting cast be? Point number 3. Which team is more deserving to be ranked closer to the top 10? 2 of the sport's biggest brand names clash, where number 18, Notre Dame, plays at number 20, Tennessee, on Wednesday. The Irish's 171 loss in their opener in Paris to South Carolina is the only blemish on their record. But it also has been their only real test that could change Thursday. The Lady Vols lost to Florida State and Indiana and beat Oklahoma by 3 points. Those are all good quality opponents, so Tennessee's 4-2 record reflects a challenging schedule. This game is important to both the Irish and Lady Vols in establishing whether they're top 10 material. Number 4. Who else is ready to step up in the SEC after South Carolina? South Carolina is clearly the best team in the SEC, but the rest of the conference remains a mystery. These games against better competition will hopefully provide a truer picture of who some of these SEC teams are. Vanderbilt looked good at the South Point shootout in Las Vegas over the weekend with wins over Iowa State and Northern Iowa. At 7-0, the Commodores are off to their best start since 2011 and 12. But the rest of their schedule has been underwhelming. Can they compete with red-hot NC State? If so, the unbeaten start won't look like a fluke, and Vanderbilt becomes an NCAA tournament contender. Much the same could be said about Georgia and Arkansas. Both are playing quality opponents, Duke and Florida State. How these games go might define how the Lady Bulldogs and Razorbacks are viewed before conference play begins. And fifthly, who will emerge as the team to beat in the ACC? No single game or week in November will determine what happens in March, and these games obviously don't have any bearing on each conference title picture. Yet the ACC-SEC Challenge will serve as a litmus test gauging which teams might be contenders in their leagues and nationally. The ACC race has much less clarity at this point compared to the SEC, although one thing is for sure. NC State is poised to finish much better than its 8th place finish projection. The Wolfpack, who alongside Miami are the conference's remaining undefeated teams, and Virginia Tech are currently number 2 seeds in the latest bracketology, while Florida State comes in as a number 4 seed. Notre Dame, Louisville, and North Carolina joined those 3 in the AP Top 25, but even Duke, right after losing to Davidson, showed it can be a tough out by taking Stanford to the brink, pun not intended. Long story short, good luck trying to fully predict how the ACC standings shake out this early. As far as this week goes, teams like Florida State and NC State need to take care of business and do what good teams do to establish themselves as contenders. beat the teams they're supposed to. In this case, Arkansas and Vanderbilt respectively. A win for the Hokies after their struggles in the Cayman Islands and earlier losses to Iowa would instill confidence. Notre Dame, Miami, Louisville, and UNC also take on top 25 competition over the next few days, which could provide further insight into which squads are capable of making some noise down the road. So there you have a look at the women's version of the ACC SEC challenge. So what I'm going to do right here, I am going to take a break. And when I come back, I have some more good content for you, as long as you stay locked in the zone with yours truly, Anthony Smith. Welcome back to In the Zone with yours truly, Anthony Smith, on a rainy Thursday evening here in the air capital city, Wichita, Kansas, where I am broadcasting from. And I know I started things off in such a way you were like, is this guy going in heavy on women's sports? The answer to that question was a resounding yes. Why wouldn't I? I mean, they play their season around the same time the men play theirs, and there's some drama going on. And you people want to know what's going on, and I am going to deliver like the mail carrier. That's what I do. I know a lot of people say, well, I'm not big on women's sports. But I bet you everybody that listen to this podcast know who Angel Reece is. And I'm pretty sure everybody know who Caitlin Clark is. I mean, all the women did was garner up millions and millions of viewers, and it was one of the highly anticipated or most watched women's NCAA finals in history, parallel with that of the men's. So that speaks volumes. So now with all the drama that's going on around LSU, oh yes, you're tuned into it. So what's my job? My job is to give you the content that I know you want to hear. Anyway, back to football. Because Saban wants SEC team in CFP regardless of Bama, Georgia result. And we know a lot of what if this happens, what if that happens, and if this team beats that team, if Team X beats Team Y, and if Team A beats Team C, and what does that do for Team D? And, it's kind of like figuring out a trigonometry question in math. I never did get the trigonometry. I barely escaped algebra. Anyway, should Alabama upset number one Georgia on Saturday in the SEC championship game, the conference could be on the outside looking in when the 4 college football playoff teams are selected. I disagree with that. Georgia or Alabama will be in one way or the other. Let's just face it. It's the politics. Yes, I said the P word. It's the politics. An SEC team will be in the college football playoffs Final Four regardless. But it'll help though if Georgia just go ahead and wins the game and leave no doubt. Alabama coach Nick Saben said Thursday that it would be a disrespect to the SEC if there isn't an SEC representation in the CFP. He may be on to something making that statement, because it seems like things do revolve around either the Big Ten or the SEC. Speaking on the SEC championship game teleconference, Saban first said his focus was on Saturday's game, but when pressed on the issue, he reiterated what he said on the Pat McAfee show earlier Thursday. I'm going to see if I can bring that audio up. Because I want you to hear it straight from the straight. I want you to hear it straight from the source.
Tell me you want a new iPhone. A better plan is Verizon.
Not what not my speculation, but I want y'all to hear it straight from the source of what Nick Saben had to say. That way, this will bring a little bit more clarity to this whole situation. So here is Nick Saben.
What do you see from this Georgia team that you guys have been, I don't want to say worried about, but thinking about? And what do you expect from their offensive side and Carson Beck this weekend?
I think this is the most dynamic offense we've had to face all year long because, A, they have great balance. They got a good offensive line. They got good runners. They can run the ball. Then Carson Beck is an outstanding quarterback, really makes good decisions, quick decisions, get the ball out of his hand, hadn't been sacked much. And then he's got some mismatched players down the field. You mentioned both of them that are hard to guard. They do a great job from a scheme standpoint, putting those guys in positions where they have opportunities to make plays, and they've made them, tons of them. And this is a really, really good offensive football team all the way around. I mean, run, pass, play action pass, taking shots down the field. I mean, they're really well tied together, and they do a good job of executing. These guys are really well coached, and they got good players, and they execute well.
So there you heard the words of Nick Saban, basically heaping praises on Georgia and what it is they have to look for. But he reiterated on the Pat McAfee show earlier Thursday, an SEC team should be in the playoffs despite the Crimson Tide Bulldogs outcome. The SEC has won the past 4 national championships, Georgia twice, Alabama, and LSU, and 6 of the 9 titles overall during the CFP era. Twice, 2 SEC teams have played for the championship. Alabama beat Georgia for the 2017 title, and Georgia topped Alabama for the 2021 title. I think the SEC is one of the best conferences in the country, Saban said. I think Georgia is one of the best teams in the country. I think they're one of the best 4 teams in the country. I think if we beat them, we'd be one of the best 4 teams in the country. Georgia coach Kirby Smart said he didn't want to get into it when asked about the possibility of the SEC being left out of the playoffs. I want to focus on what we have to do to win this game, Smart said Thursday. Naturally, SEC Commissioner George Sankey believes the playoffs should include at least one of the teams in Saturday's title game in Atlanta based on the overall rigor of the conference schedule. Starting with the simple facts that there are 3 teams currently ranked in the top 10 with 3 or more wins over top 25 teams as the rankings currently exist, Sankey said. 2 of those teams are Georgia and Alabama. Sankey also noted unparalleled success for the SEC in the playoffs. It's envied by everyone else, Sankey said. We've lost the semifinal once to a non-conference team, to a non-conference team twice in the championship game. The only other losses we've experienced are to ourselves in the national championship game. The entirety of our record is a basis for the assurance that we will have a team in the CFP for the 10th consecutive year. The worst scenario for the SEC likely would be the 4th playoff spot coming down between a 1-loss Alabama team and a 1-loss Texas team, both conference champions, particularly with the Longhorns having beat the Crimson Tide 34-24 in Tuscaloosa in Week 2. Texas plays Oklahoma State in Saturday's Big 12 championship game. With teams, there's a transformation that goes through the season, Saban said. How are we playing now? Where is your team now? How good are you now? I think all those things come into play. No team ranked lower than number 6 in the penultimate CFP ranking has made the playoffs. Texas is number 7 and Alabama number 8 in this week's rankings. Ohio State is number 6, but doesn't play in the conference championship game this weekend after losing to Michigan last weekend. Number 3 Washington and number 5 Oregon play Friday in the Pac-12 championship game. So, how do you see it? If Alabama is ranked, let me get this right. If Alabama is ranked, number 7, number 8, and they happen to beat Georgia, is there enough leapfrog for them to get into the football playoff Final Four? How far would Georgia drop? These are questions that the committee has to answer that I'm glad I'm not a part of. Because that's like to try to figure this out is like me going to Cracker Barrel and trying to figure out that board game, where you have to move the pegs, and if you leave one, you're a genius, and if you leave two, you're something. Yeah, I think I'd have more success trying to figure out that board game than trying to figure out who's in, who's out, who could be in, who could be out. That's a lot of moving parts. I'd rather learn the game of chess than to try to figure out putting in the top 4 college teams in the playoff to battle it out for the right to the national championship. To me, this is just very confusing and confounding, which is why I'm one of the few that's glad that it is expanding. Now, do I think 12 is too many? It remains to be seen. Let's see how it plays out. Personally, I think I would have went with 8. But, hey, 12 gives 8 more schools a chance to get in. They didn't have a chance to get in this year. But I'm going to go on record and say, for the sake of the SEC, if they feel like they just seriously got to have a team in the CFP, the best way to do that is for Georgia to beat Alabama. Yes, do I have a rooting interest? I was a Herschel Walker fan when he was a Georgia Bulldog. So how about them dogs? I'm rolling with them dogs. Anyway, it's the A-Trunk. It is In the Zone with Anthony Smith. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a break. When I come back, I'm going to wrap things up in the zone. Hope you guys are staying dry. Welcome back to In the Zone with Anthony, as we look to bring you some more good content in the zone. And this time I'm going to go local, or across the state of Kansas. This is a little bit of what you get on my other podcast platform that I call the Full Court Press, as Haley Contreras is on KSHSAA's top 15 to watch list. We just simply call it around here Keisha. So there are 15 class girls basketball players to watch in 2023-24. Starting off with Zion Butler, Wichita South. Butler, a senior, took her game to a higher level last season, and the Titans followed suit. The 5'5" point guard averaged 17.3 points, 5.3 rebounds, 3.3 assists, and 2.5 steals as South went from 8 victories in 2021-22 to a 15-7 record last season. Butler, an all-class 6'8" third team and all-grader Wichita Athletic League first team selection, scored 31 in a victory over Wichita North and hit a game-winning floater in the closing seconds of a sub-state victory over Wichita Northwest. Along with senior Ramaya Kennedy and Butler's younger sister, Mahogany, the Titans have 3 returnees who average in double figures. Washburn Rural's Zoe Canfield. Canfield saw her junior season end after 8 games, suffering a season-ending knee injury in the first quarter of Rural's 9th game that forced her to miss the Junior Blues' run to a second straight Class 6A state championship. At the time of her injury, she was averaging 12.1 points, 3.7 rebounds, and 3 assists per game. A University of Kansas signee and 4-year starter for the Junior Blues, Canfield is a deadly three-point shooter, setting a school record by hitting 47.5% in a single season, in which she made 67, which ranks third on the single-season charts. Canfield missed part of volleyball season recovering from her injury, but is back at full strength for her senior basketball season. Liberals, Haley Contreras. Contreras is primed for a big senior season after a consistent junior campaign in which she led Liberal in scoring 12 points per game and assists 3.1 per game. She put up a season-high 21 points against Hayes and scored 20 against Junction City in a first-round sub-state win. Liberal went 18-4 last year, falling to Wichita Southeast in the sub-state final. Contreras was an honorable mention All-5A pick by Acacia, covered, and a first-team All-Western Athletic Conference selection last season. Jalea Davis, Blue Valley North. Davis returns for her junior season, looking to continue her electric play from a season ago when she helped lead the Mustangs to a state championship. The 6-foot forward averaged a double-double last season with 19 points and 10 rebounds per game. She also dominated on defense with 3 steals and 2 blocks per game. Davis earned All-State and All-EKL first team honors last year. Blue Valley North finished 21-4 to win the Class 6A state title, the program's fourth and first since 2005. Davis will be just one of many returners from that team. Julian Huckabee, Olathe Northwest. Huckabee returns for her senior campaign following a year where she earned All-State second team and All-Sunflower League first team honors. The 5'11" guard averaged 14 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2.7 steals per game last season. Huckabee might have to take on a little more of the scoring for this team as teammate Skylar Pierce opted to graduate a semester early to join the University of Nebraska volleyball team this spring. The Ravens finished last year with a 15-8 record and reached state before losing in the first round to Derby. Gabriella Jackson, Shawnee Mission Northwest. Jackson earned All-Sunflower League second team and All-State honorable mention honors last year. She averaged 14 points and 8 rebounds per game last year. The Cougars finished the year with a 12-10 record, reaching the sub-state finals before losing to eventual state champion Blue Valley Northwest. Brene, or I believe I pronounced it right, it's B-R-Y, Brene, I'm going to say Brene Johnson Lawrence, B-R-Y-N-N-A-E. Johnson returns for her junior season following a year where she earned All-Sunflower League first team and All-State second team honors. The 5'8" point guard led the Lions in scoring last year with 12.6 points per game. Lawrence finished the year with a 19-4 record, reaching state before losing to eventual state runner-up Washburn Rural in the opening round. Back here locally, Micaiah Jones, Wichita Southeast. Jones was part of a youthful Southeast squad that ended the program's 35-year absence from the state tournament. Really? Has it been that long? I don't recall it being 35 years, and I stayed right here. But hey, if they say 35 years, that means this has been since Karima Williams was in high school. Roughly. Anyway, Jones was part of a youthful Southeast squad that ended the program's 35-year absence from the state tournament. The Buffaloes fell to eventual 6A champion Blue Valley North in the quarterfinals, but the 16-7 season pointed toward a promising future. With an underclassman starting lineup and just one senior on the roster, Jones led Southeast in scoring and rebounding to earn all Greater Wichita Athletic League first team honors. She was also named to McPherson's Mid-America Classic all-tournament team as the Buffs reached the title game. Izzy Joyce, Shawnee Mission West. Joyce returns for her senior season after earning all Sunflower League second team honors a year ago. The 5'7" point guard averaged 14 points, 3.1 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 3.5 steals per game. She might have to take on a little bit more of the scoring burden this season now that Samaya Nichols has graduated, now playing for University of Kansas women's basketball team. The Vikings went 11-11 last year, reaching the sub-state final before losing to a Shawnee Mission South team that was undefeated at the time. Abigail Long, Shawnee Mission East. Long returns for her senior year, planning to be an offensive force once again this season. She has the range to pull up from anywhere on the court, and her coach has given her the green light to do just that. She averaged 21 points, 2 assists, and 2 steals per game last season as an All-Sunflower League first team and All-State second team selection last year. Long will lead the Shawnee Mission East team, hoping to find the right mix of experienced upperclassmen and standout sophomores to improve upon last year's 4-17 record. The Lancers lost to eventual state champion Blue Valley North in the opening round of sub-state. Emma Sales, Olathe West. Sales returns for her junior campaign following a season where she earned all Sunflower League first team and all state second team honors. The 5'10" guard averaged 13.8 points, 5.5 rebounds, 2.3 assists, and 2.1 steals per game last year. The Owls finished last year 14-8, reaching the sub-state finals before losing to Blue Valley. Landry Schaefer, Gardner Edgerton. Schaefer returns for her sophomore campaign after firing on the high school basketball scene last year. The 5'10" guard averaged 16.8 points, 4.1 rebounds, 2.7 steals last year. Schaefer earned all Sunflower League first team and all state honorable mention honors. The Trailblazers finished last year 8-13, losing to Olathe West in the opening round of the sub-state. Aubrey Shaw, Blue Valley North. Shaw earned all EKL second team and all state honorable mention honors as a sophomore last season on a state championship team. The 6'1" guard averaged 14 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 blocks per game last year. The Blue Valley North finished 21-4 to win the Class 6A state title, the program's fourth and first since 2005. Shaw will be just one of many returners from the team eyeing a title defense this season. So tell you what I'm going to do right here. I am going to take a break, and when I come back, I will put a bow on things. I will finish this list, and we will wrap things up on In the Zone. And Smith. Don't you dare go nowhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to In the Zone for what will most definitely be my final segment. I did not even envision going this long, but hey, when you got something to talk about and something to say, the length of it doesn't really matter. You know, the old saying goes like this: wise people, when they speak, they have something to say. Foolish people, when they speak, they just have to say something. I don't know which category I fit into, but I tell you something. When you listen to this podcast today, you'll definitely know that I had something to say, And I hope you were entertained. And, you know, I want to say thank you for making this podcast where it is. Those you listen to it, wherever you listen to it at, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Because of that, you deserve this right here. Anyway, I'm going to conclude this list of 15 players that you need to keep an eye on that Keisha has their eye on. The last couple of names I have to mention on here is Carmen Smith out of Shawnee Mission South. Smith returns for her senior year looking to lead a Raiders squad that will have a lot of returning firepower and a lot left to prove after how last year's season finished. The 5'8" guard averaged 14.5 points, 7.9 rebounds, 3.8 assists, and 2.8 steals last year. Smith earned All-State and All-Sunflower League first team honors last season. She was the big reason why the Raiders dominated the regular season a year ago. Shawnee Mission South went undefeated in the regular season and reached state only to get bounced in the first round in an overtime loss against Blue Valley. The team's expectations remain very high as Smith is one of many key returners from that group. And last on this list, Jaden Wooten, Blue Valley. Wooten has been the centerpiece of a Blue Valley team that has earned a spot in the state semifinals each of the past 2 seasons. The 5'6" point guard averaged 21 points, 4.7 assists, 6.5 rebounds, 2.2 steals last year as she earned All-State and All-EKL first team honors. Wooten was also named as her league's most valuable player. Blue Valley knocked off top-seeded and undefeated Shawnee Mission South in the opening of the state tournament before losing to Washburn Rural in the state semifinals. In that win over Shawnee Mission South, Wooten hit a buzzer-beating three-pointer to send the game to overtime before the Tigers won 41-34. So basically what I'm going to do is wish these young ladies and their respective teams the best of luck this season. And look forward to seeing some of you here locally at Southeast and at South High. I'm pretty sure there will be a marquee game to mark on the calendar when those two teams square off. I'm pretty sure it will have some implications on rankings and seedings for the state tournament down the road. But this has been another edition of In the Zone. Like I said, I know it has been a while. But hey, when I come in, I usually come in hard. I'm kind of like Andy Mineo. I'm coming in hot. Anyway, hope you have enjoyed this episode of In the Zone. Until the next time, take care of yourself and each other. I'll be back with you, in the words of Kim Mulkey, sooner rather than later. I'm out.